Hey everybody, and welcome to hashtag Grow Your Life live sessions. Today, I wanted to talk to you about bouncing back from failure and how it's the only way to succeed. And actually, what's funny is right now, in this very moment while I'm recording this video, I'm living by example what I'm talking about. This morning, I had an appointment at 9 o'clock. I completely slept through it. I slept through the appointment. And I instantly went into this like beating myself up type mode, old patterns. And so I called the person. I said, I am so sorry. If you have to charge me for your time, do it. I deserve to be charged. And they were like, oh, no problem. Don't even worry about it. Can you come in, at 10? And so that's what I'm doing. But before that, I'm recording this live, and I want to talk to you about that exact thing, bouncing back from failure, and it's the only way to succeed. It used to take me 24 hours sometimes, even weeks or months to bounce back, and I've been learning and putting into practice that if I mess up, if I fail, if I make a mistake, to bounce back within seconds and minutes, and to be able to go after what I'm called to do, what I'm supposed to do. And so no shame, no guilt. I refuse to take any of that on because it's a mistake. I'm human. We can make mistakes. We have permission to make mistakes. We are allowed to. And if we get it in our head that we're not allowed to, that we're supposed to feel shame and guilt over mistakes that we make, it holds us back and keeps us trapped in a prison of our own minds that we never can break out of until we release that. And so instead of wrapping it all up into this vicious cycle of, well, I did this, I did that, and now it equals this, and that means something, that it means that I should feel this way, that it means that I'm a failure, that it means X, Y, Z, it's the other way. What I do now is made a mistake. I'll do better next time. I'm going to learn from it, learn from the failures, embrace the mistakes, embrace the failures. In fact, today, I invited today's failure. I invited today's mistake that I made because it taught me a lesson of how to be resilient, bounce back instantly. I went and played my piano, got my mind right, took some supplements, put my hat on, and here I am doing my live video right here with you guys, living by example through this. And so what I want to encourage you is this. Whatever you're going through, sometimes we have plans, we have ideas, we have visions. It could even be a lifelong thing, something we've been working for 5-10 years to do, accomplish with a 5-10 year out goal, and it all crumbles and crashes because of a mistake or a failure, or it didn't quite work out how we saw it. And we have a choice. We're at a crossroads of a choice. We can either choose to react to it and say, this defines me, I am now a failure, and I will have shame, and I will take that on and never do that again out of fear of being exposed, of being hurt, of being ostracized, whatever that is, or it's just a comfort zone of shame to feel that. Or we can choose. This moment doesn't define me. I'm defined by where I'm going, what my calling is, what my destiny is, and this thing is just a stop along the way that I'm going to learn from, course correct, adjust, shift into another gear, and then go forward. So we can either stop, make it a roadblock, set up a tent, sit there for 5 years, wallow in our sorrows and wonder why we never accomplished what we were called to do and what could have been, what should have been. I'm talking from experience here, guys. I've had that happen. I had something like 8-9 years ago where I got in some trouble and went to, I had a drinking problem, went to jail, and my life, I thought at the moment, had crumbled down in that moment, crumbled completely, and there was no way of getting out of it. And I literally let it define me, I would say, for a couple years. I lived in that state of shame and guilt and didn't let it myself go where I knew I was called to go. And then started working my way up. And then, I met my wife. And since then, everything's opened up in my life, gotten closer with God, more my relationship, my identity. And it all started by getting clear with what I'm called to do, my identity, what I was made for, what God says about me, the truth about who I am, what I was destined for, my purpose, and then going after my purpose with all that I have, learning from the failure. I listened to this podcast with Ed Milet and Shaun White, the Olympic snowboarder, Shaun White, like best in the world guy. And what he said is this: he actually embraces his failures as teachers, because we can't learn from our successes, but we can always learn from our failures. Success is a bad teacher. It makes you think that you can do everything perfect. But when you fail, when you make a mistake, you learn from it. So he says he either wins or he learns. He never loses. He never loses. And even when the world says he loses, he learned. So at the end, he's a winner because he was able to learn and take that on and take the energy of the loss and transform it into a lesson to then learn from, take on, and do better next time. So in that, you need to learn how to be resilient. When you fail, when you make a mistake, bounce back. And I know it can take sometimes 5, 10, 15, 20 years to bounce back. Sometimes we're like, okay, this thing happened back in 1999, when the stock market crashed with all these tech companies. And so I'm never getting into tech or stocks or anything again. I know some people that are like that. Or this thing happened in 1979, 40 years ago. And we let those define us. These moments in our past define what happened to us instead of looking at the future, looking at where we're going, where we're headed, and then realizing, guess what? We're human. We're going to make mistakes on a daily basis, literally. But what defines us is not the mistake we make, but how we can get back up, get back on the horse and move forward. It's not about shame. It's not about guilt. It's not about, well, I should be doing this. It's about a choice and a decision that I'm worth it to do this. I'm worth it to go after what I'm called to do. I'm worth it to be resilient. There's nobody, this failure can't define me because I know who I am. I know whose I am. I know what I'm called to do and where I'm going. Then we get back up, we move forward, we go after our goals, our destiny, our calling, our purpose with all that we have. And that's how you grow your life, everybody. That's how you get back up on the horse and move forward and not let any mistakes, anything hold you back and define you or your identity. You don't take it on as that equals me, but rather where I'm going is where I'm headed. Your identity doesn't change. It stays solid. So the mistake didn't become your identity. Your identity is the same as it was before the mistake. You just made a mistake. Now it's a lesson. You learn from it. A mistake is just as much of a failure or a success. A success does not define your identity either. So this is something that a lot of people need to get. What you do or don't do doesn't equal your identity. Your identity stays the same. Who you are, what you were made for, what you're called to do, how you react to it, the decisions you make, the actions you make don't define your identity or who you are. Otherwise, our mistakes and our failures would dictate our identity. But instead, your identity stays solid in that, the present moment, what you were made for, what God says about you, the truth about what you were created for is always the same, whether you succeed or fail. You can learn from your failures, you can learn from your successes, and we move forward and get back up and grow our lives, everybody, every single day, every single week, every single month. Let's do this, everybody. Let's finish the week strong. If you're in my group, we're going to post our wins for the week, and we'll talk soon, everybody. Have a good one. Grow your life.